A few weeks ago, I mentioned in my Netflix recommendations for April that I started a new series on Netflix, and that I might make a video for it once I finish the series. And after finally completing it, I'm here today to share my thoughts and review the series, Messiah. Messiah is a 2020 Netflix original political drama series. And while I usually don't watch political dramas as they tend to be somewhat slow and dialogue heavy with foreign terminologies and ambiguous subtext, I was quite drawn in by both the series' concept and trailer. The modern world's reaction to a man who first appears in the Middle East, whose followers claim him to be the eschatological return of Jesus. His sudden appearance and apparent miracles spark a growing international following, casting doubts about who he really is, a case investigated by a CIA officer. The series was bound to attract even the most skeptical of viewers, due to this idea alone of a Messiah and his second coming. But once I finished the series, I couldn't believe that my former thoughts on political dramas were completely and utterly true. The story was slow and sometimes confusing. Characters were underdeveloped, possibly due to the short length of the season, and the season finale was shrouded in so much ambiguity that, personally, I wasn't satisfied with the conclusion of the series. But don't get me wrong, I found the series quite interesting and well constructed, especially in terms of setting and production. Shifting between various terrains and environments, it gave a feeling of authenticity. And I found Al-Masih, our Messiah, to perform in his role convincingly well, even making me doubt my beliefs on his true identity. Side note, I still choose to call him Al-Masih even though we found out his real name is Payam Golshiri, because I like the name Al-Masih more. It just sounds more holy. Nevertheless, the show did not perform as well as it had hoped to. So let's take a look deeper into the series. So it goes without saying, spoiler alert. Today, we're going to analyze the series according to 4 aspects: setting, tone, characters, and plot. For the setting, it is both the time and geographic location within a narrative. The setting helps to initiate the main backdrop and the mood for a story. Okay, so as I said earlier, I found the various settings of the show to be appropriately utilized and constructed, so that as a viewer, we can realistically imagine that if the events of the story were true, they would more or less take place in the depicted locations. Also, I think it should be stated that much of the reactions of modern-day society would be similar to the characters in Messiah. Imagine, if a man was to suddenly emerge in our society, performing unexplainable miracles, wouldn't it be reasonable for some people to believe this is a man of a higher calling? Miracles that are without logical reasoning? Would you not call this man, who works in such mysterious ways, a miracle worker? And in today's society, with global concerns of national security and protection, such a man would pose a threat should his ideals become extreme or radical, which in my opinion, offers a sense of realism to the series. Tone. It is the expression of the writer's attitude, or in our case, the character's attitude, or feelings toward the subject matter. Allah, the advent of a mysterious messianic figure. Tone is important because it isn't necessarily what you say, but how you say it. I think the writers perfectly captured the tone of the series. While watching, I thought of this clip from the movie Batman vs. Superman.
90% of people believe in a higher power, and every religion believes in some sort of messianic figure. And when this savior character actually comes to Earth, we want to make him abide by our rules. We have to understand that this is a paradigm shift. We have to start thinking beyond politics.
Are there any moral constraints on this person? We have international law. On this earth, every act is a political act.
Is it really surprising that the most powerful man in the world should be a figure of controversy?
And while I don't believe Al-Masih to be Superman, I do believe that a so-called miracle man would and should be a topic of controversy. There were believers, Reverend Felix and his daughter Rebecca, and Jibril. And there were a lot of non-believers, Aviram, Ava, and everyone in between. And I think this use of multiple perspectives and contrasting beliefs spark a true debate if Al-Masih is truly a prophet of miracles, a man of ideals, a revolutionary inciting an uprising, or an extremist starting a cult. Characters. Any person, animal, or figure representation in a story. Characters are essential to a good story, and it is the main characters that have the greatest effect on the plot, while also being the most affected by the events of a story. This is where I believe the series kinda fell off. I think that it was right to not really establish a true main character of the series. Yes, Al-Masih is the titular character, the Messiah, but screen time is almost divided equally amongst the plethora of characters in the story. However, I believe that a few of the main characters were quite underdeveloped. Again, maybe due to the fact that the series only ran for 10 episodes, but we didn't spend enough time building a connection to the characters. For example, Ava, our American CIA agent. Throughout the series, she was experiencing the trauma of her husband dying and having a miscarriage. Her dad is also showing signs of Alzheimer's. She has a complicated and quite interesting character. There are so many points in her character that could be explored. However, we didn't really explore her character that deeply, as she focuses too much on her work, and we don't really see any character development in her to deal with her trauma. Aviram, an Israeli Shin Bet agent. We saw a couple of flashbacks into his past towards the end of the series, but I didn't really believe they were convincing motives for his character. He wants to keep it a secret that he tortured a kid to death to get answers. But throughout the series, he just comes off as arrogant and conceited and easily irritated, and his shallow motives don't really explain his character. And personally, I didn't find his character to be very engaging. That's why we see minimal character development for Aviram. Plot. This describes the events that make up a story, or main part of a story. These events relate to each other in a pattern or sequence. Okay, the plot was slow. However, it did have a few shining moments, such as when Al-Masih pulled the bullet out of the boy, or when he walked on water in front of thousands, or even in the season finale when he supposedly resurrected Aviram. However, we weren't given any explanation to debunk the miracles Al-Masih performed. Yeah, maybe his background of being taught magic by his uncle explains pulling the bullet out of the boy, but it surely doesn't explain his walking on water, or stopping the sandstorm in Syria, or saving Rebecca from a tornado in Texas. The series left too many questions unanswered without providing enough context to even leave it to the viewer's imagination. And I also found that there were too many side stories going on. I do believe that side stories are important in every good story to complement the greater narrative, but the side stories in this series were misplaced and quite frankly pointless. Why did they introduce Ava's dad having Alzheimer's? Or federal agent Will Mathers, who suddenly leaves the investigation because he has a change of heart? And that Rebecca is the real one Al-Masih wants? And possibly the most confusing is the relationship between the two young men, Jibril and Samir. I mean, where are any of these stories really going? And while this all is strictly my opinion, the show was cancelled after its first season, leaving me to believe that I'm not the only one who found the series to be somewhat underwhelming. However, it isn't entirely the writer's fault. The concept of Messiah's second coming is interesting and quite fascinating, but controversial, sparking allegations that the series contained anti-Islamic sentiment. And these allegations of religious insensitivity may have played a part in the series' cancellation. Messiah had a fundamentally interesting concept, but it failed to produce in a way that leaves an impact. In the end, the real disappointment is that it was cancelled after one season, leaving it no chance to possibly make up for its slow start. And that was my review on Messiah. While I did share all of my opinions about this show, I would love to hear your opinions about it below, so don't forget to leave a comment or your reactions down below in the comment section. If you're interested and want to go check it out for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description below.
If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video with anyone you think might enjoy it. I appreciate all feedback, so if you have any comments or suggestions, just hit me up in the comment section below and I'll be sure to reply. Again, this was Tyler the director. See you all next week, and that's a wrap!